Mansour Bahrami. Mansour Bahrami's career almost never happened. Growing up in Iran during the 1960 seconds, he taught himself tennis using frying pans and broom handles after the Shah banned Western sports. When the Islamic Revolution hits in 1979, tennis is practically outlawed, and Bahrami's prime years vanish in political smoke. By the time he finally escapes to France with only $10 in his pocket, he's already 30 in age when most careers wind down, not begin. But here's where it gets weird. Instead of chasing titles, Bahrami turns tennis into performance art. He becomes the king of exhibition matches, dazzling crowds with no-look tweener lobs, juggling balls with his racket, and hitting volleys lying flat on his back. Fans say he can make a stadium laugh harder than a stand-up comedian. He doesn't just hit shots, he defies physics. That's why he's nicknamed the court jester of tennis. Though he never wins a singles title, his doubles career brought him into the French Open final in 1989. Off-court, stories circulate about his wild gambling habits in Monte Carlo casinos, where he allegedly lost much of his winnings in a single night. His life reads like a tragicomedy missed opportunity, incredible talent, and a rebirth as tennis's greatest entertainer. And if Bahrami turns tennis into comedy, the next man flips it into confrontation, blending brilliance with outright hostility. Nick Kyrgios. Nick Kyrgios doesn't just play tennis, he hijacks it. From the start of his career in 2013, he stands out: tattoos, earrings, basketball obsession, and an unfiltered mouth. By 2014, at just 19, he stunned the world by beating Rafael Nadal at Wimbledon, becoming the first teenager to topple a world no one since Nadal himself did it in 2005. But his talent is only half the story. Kyrgios thrives on chaos. He serves underarm to humiliate opponents, carries on mid-rally conversations with his players' box, insults umpires, and smashes rackets with theatrical rage. In 2015, he crossed a line in Montreal by taunting Stan Wawrinka with a crude remark about his girlfriend earning heavy fines and global condemnation. He later admits to tanking matches on purpose, sometimes even telling reporters exactly when he quit trying. That level of honesty or self-sabotage is unheard of in professional sport. In 2022, he's charged with assault in Australia, linked to a domestic incident, though the case was dismissed the following year. His reputation as tennis's bad boy deepens. Yet he reached the Wimbledon final that same year, proving he can still channel his fire into results. Kyrgios embodies contradiction: entertainer, villain, prodigy, liability. And just when you think the chaos peaks, another player arrives less violent, but just as combustible, melting down in his own peculiar way. Benoit Paire. Benoit Paire has always been less a tennis player and more a walking paradox. Born in Avignon, he bursts onto the scene with a flashy one-handed backhand that looks like art in motion. By 2016, he climbed to world number 18. But his career isn't defined by success, it's defined by spectacular collapses. He openly admits he sometimes doesn't care. After early exits, he shrugs. "I'm bored." That candor shocks the tennis establishment. He tanks matches so blatantly that the French Tennis Federation suspends him from the 2016 Olympics after a series of disciplinary issues, including breaking curfew in Rio to spend time with his girlfriend. Paire often quits mid-match or berates himself loudly, once smashing 3 rackets in under 5 minutes in Washington. His career earnings surpass $10 million, yet he's called a talent wasted because he rarely capitalizes on it. Rumors swirl about his party lifestyle, fueled by his own Instagram posts of champagne nights and nightclub antics, sometimes even while tournaments are in progress. Fans never know if he'll produce a moment of brilliance or a full implosion. And when chaos feels too casual, another fiery figure raises the temperature with volcanic rage aimed at everyone in sight. Fabio Fognini. Fabio Fognini plays like he's auditioning for both genius and villain in the same match. In 2015, he beat Rafael Nadal 3 times in a single season, something only Novak Djokovic has ever matched. His raw talent is unquestionable, but so is his volatility. At Wimbledon 2019, after a frustrating loss, Fognini mutters in Italian that the tournament should be bombed. The remark sparks international outrage and earns him heavy fines. He's already infamous for calling umpires dirty and being defaulted from doubles at the 2017 US Open after a string of obscene outbursts. His career fines exceed $300,000, among the highest in tennis history, yet he remains magnetic. In 2019, he won the Monte Carlo Masters, the first Italian man to claim such a title in over 50 years. Off the court, he embraces his bad boy image, extravagant fashion, blunt interviews, and public spats with rivals. Married to 2015 US Open champion Flavia Pennetta, his personal life sometimes appears steadier than his professional one. But rumors of explosive temper at practice sessions linger, feeding the legend of Fognini's unpredictability. And just when volatility feels like it can't get stranger, the sport introduces a champion who bends his body like a riddle and taunts the crowd as if it's part of the match. Daniil Medvedev. Daniil Medvedev doesn't look like a typical champion. His strokes are gangly, almost broken, his footwork awkward, and yet he's beaten Novak Djokovic in straight sets to win the 2021 US Open. Fans call him the octopus because his arms and legs seem to extend unnaturally, scooping up balls nobody else could reach. But what makes him truly weird isn't just biomechanics, it's psychology. At the 2019 US Open, he flips off the crowd, then doubles down by mocking them in interviews. Instead of apologizing, he taunts New Yorkers. "The more you boo me, the better I play." That bizarre reverse fuel relationship turns him into a villain and a cult favorite at the same time. He once even lay flat on the court after a marathon rally, pretending to sleep mid-match. Medvedev studied applied economics before committing to tennis, and he often references chess-like strategies during pressers. He speaks 3 languages, casually drops sarcastic jokes, and never hides his irritation with rules like ranting about court speeds or camera angles. In 2020, he's fined for smashing his racket to bits in Miami, yet smiles in interviews minutes later. He's cerebral, antagonistic, and hilariously unpredictable. And from controlled chaos, the spotlight shifts to a ritual-obsessed champion whose quirks have become as legendary as his titles. Rafael Nadal. Rafael Nadal is one of the greatest athletes alive, but watch closely, he's also one of the strangest. Every match becomes a ritualistic dance. He lines up his water bottles labels outward, places them in precise order, wipes sweat with the same sequence of motions, and adjusts his shorts before nearly every serve. Critics call it superstition, he insists it's routine. Either way, it's obsessive. These quirks are so consistent that fans track them online. By 2019, Nadal admits openly that they calm his nerves, but opponents sometimes fume, accusing him of time wasting. His reputation for slow play even gets him warnings from umpires. Yet he never changes. His most famous ritual happens after victory, biting every trophy he wins. Since 2005, he's lifted 22 Grand Slam singles titles, and each one has those iconic teeth marks. Off-court, stories circulate of Nadal's near-compulsive habits at home. Friends say he insists on neatness and absurd detail, almost like his courtside behavior never switches off. He's also unusual in lifestyle, no social media drama, no loud fashion. He still lives in Mallorca near family, avoiding celebrity excess. For a man worth over $120 million, he remains oddly private. And while Nadal's quirks seem harmless, the next champion's obsessions spark global controversy, dragging tennis into a political storm. Novak Djokovic. Novak Djokovic is one of the greatest players ever, but also one of the most unusual. His eccentricities stretch far beyond the baseline. He swears by a strict gluten-free diet, once claiming he could diagnose food intolerances by holding bread against his stomach and testing muscle strength. In 2010, he even credits a Serbian nutritionist with changing his life through these unconventional methods. Then there's his fascination with alternative recovery. Djokovic has spoken about using hyperbaric chambers, meditation, and even positive energy from water. In 2020, he promoted a controversial wellness guru on Instagram who claimed water could be purified through emotions, fueling critics who already doubted his views. But his strangest saga comes in 2022, when he arrives in Australia unvaccinated against COVID-19. After a week of courtroom drama, he's deported from Melbourne, missing the chance to defend his Australian Open title. That scandal divides the world. Some see him as a martyr, others as reckless. He has also been fined for smashing rackets, defaulted from the 2020 US Open after accidentally striking a line judge, and accused of exaggerating injuries. He's loved and loathed, disciplined yet erratic. And while Djokovic's eccentricity is divisive, the next player's weirdness bursts out in fashion, fury, and unstoppable ambition. Serena Williams. Serena Williams dominates women's tennis with 23 Grand Slam singles titles, but her weirdness is threaded through fashion, attitude, and fierce clashes. At the 2002 US Open, she shocked the conservative tennis world with a black skin-tight catsuit, later echoing in her 2018 French Open Wakanda-inspired bodysuit. The French Federation bans it, sparking global headlines. Serena laughs it off, saying superheroes wear suits. Her on-court confrontations are legendary. In the 2009 US Open semifinal, she's fined $82,500 after threatening a line judge over a foot fault, one of the heaviest penalties ever. In 2018, she erupts in the US Open final against Naomi Osaka, smashing rackets and accusing umpire Carlos Ramos of sexism. The meltdown overshadows Osaka's historic win and cements Serena as tennis's lightning rod. Off the court, she lives larger than life, a fashion label, film cameos, and close friendship with Beyoncé. Rumors have long swirled about Serena's fiery temper in practice sessions, with ex-coaches admitting she sometimes refused drills if she was in a mood. Yet her private life also fascinates. Marriage to Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian, and business investments valued at over $250 million. And if Serena shocks through power and spectacle, the next rebel pulls the mask off entirely, confessing to vices the sport tried to bury. Andre Agassi. Andre Agassi enters tennis as the rebel the sport didn't know how to handle. Neon shirts, ripped denim shorts, and a lion's mane of hair, later revealed to be a wig. In his 2009 autobiography, he confesses the wig nearly cost him the 1990 French Open final because he feared it would fall off mid-match. He loses in 5 sets, haunted by vanity. The bombshell revelations don't end there. Agassi admitted to using crystal meth in 1997, a year he dropped to world No. 141. When the ATP investigates after a failed drug test, he writes a letter claiming it was accidental. They accept it. Years later, he admits it was a lie. No tennis champion had ever confessed something like that before. Despite this chaos, Agassi builds one of the great comeback stories. He won 8 Grand Slam titles, completed the career Golden Slam, all 4 majors, plus Olympic gold, and finished with 870 match wins. Yet his lifestyle remains colorful. Marriage to Brooke Shields ends in divorce, followed by his long-lasting union with Steffi Graf. Agassi's life is one contradiction after another, rebel and role model, addict and champion. And where Agassi spirals inward, the next wild card wrestles with multiple versions of himself, as if 3 men are fighting inside one body. Goran Ivanišević. Goran Ivanišević lives in permanent conflict with himself. He openly describes having 3 Gorans: the good, the bad, and the crazy. Depending on which one shows up, he could beat Pete Sampras or lose to a qualifier. By the late 1990 seconds, he holds the record for most aces in a season: 1,477 inches, 1,996, yet also leads the tour in double faults. Pure paradox. His weirdness explodes at Wimbledon 2001. Ranked world No. 125 and given a wildcard entry, he somehow stormed through the draw, defeating Patrick Rafter in a 5-set final. It became one of the unlikeliest slam wins in history. Fans dubbed it a victory for madness. But his temper often sabotages him. Goran once smashed all his rackets in frustration during a tournament in Brighton 2000, forcing him to forfeit because he had none left to play with. Across his career, fines piled up for swearing, racket destruction, and arguments. Away from the court, rumors of wild nightlife in Monte Carlo dogged him. He's linked with celebrities, spends freely, and admits gambling away big sums. Still, his charm keeps him beloved, especially in Croatia, where he's a national hero. And if Goran embodies chaos within, the next showman embraces chaos outward, treating the court like a circus stage. Gael Monfils. Gael Monfils plays tennis like it's a video game. He's ranked as high as world number 6 inches 2016, yet his career is less about trophies and more about theatrics. Instead of hitting the routine winner, Monfils often leaps into mid-air smashes, does full-court slides, or performs a running 360 before striking the ball. Fans adore him for it. Critics accuse him of wasting talent. Across his career, he's reached 33 finals but has only 12 titles, and many say it's because he prefers entertaining to winning. He once celebrated a shot mid-rally at the US Open, costing himself the point. He also dances during changeovers, whips the crowd into chants, and jokes with ball kids. Off the court, he feeds his clown prince reputation. He's admitted he sometimes stays up all night gaming. which once allegedly hurt his performance during a tournament in 2010. Rumors about injuries caused by reckless off-court training have circulated for years. His relationship with fellow pro Alina Svitolina made headlines, especially after their wedding in 2021 turned into a media frenzy in France. Monfils is adored, unpredictable, and maddeningly unserious. And where Monfils turned sport into a party, the next player dragged Wimbledon into a scandal so bizarre it ended with a slap heard round the world. Jeff Tarango. Jeff Tarango is remembered less for his tennis than for his temper. At Wimbledon 1995, during a third-round match, he suddenly walked off court mid-game after a heated argument with umpire Bruno Ribia. Fans boo, and in an unprecedented scene, Tarango simply packs up and leaves. That alone would be bizarre, but it gets stranger. After the match, his wife slaps the umpire across the face outside the stadium. Wimbledon bans Tarango for the rest of the tournament. Ranked as high as World No. 42 inches singles, Tarango never wins a singles title, though he does manage 2 doubles trophies. Yet his career is riddled with fights with officials, tournament organizers, even his own federation. He once called the ATP corrupt on record, further cementing his reputation as tennis's problem child. Off the court, he leans into the chaos, giving candid interviews that insult rivals and boast about his ability to intimidate umpires. Rumors swirl about fiery practice sessions where he'd argue with coaches as fiercely as he did in matches. Tarango became infamous as a man who turned a meltdown into a legacy. And just when you think it couldn't get more unconventional, a dreadlock trickster arrives, dismantling champions with fearless flair. Dustin Brown. Dustin Brown is one of the rare players who could beat Rafael Nadal at Wimbledon twice and still never crack the top 60 inches the world rankings. His game was fearless, charging the net on grass with dreadlocks flying behind him, improvising tweeners and diving volleys that made crowds roar. But his weirdness extends far beyond his shot selection. Born in Germany to a Jamaican father and German mother, Brown grew up in a financial struggle. His parents bought him a camper van so he could travel Europe for tournaments while living inside it, sleeping in the back, cooking his own meals, even stringing rackets on the road. He admitted in interviews that sometimes he had to choose between fuel and food. Despite that grind, he never settled into the rigid discipline most pros live by. Instead, he cultivated a reputation as one of the most flamboyant, unpredictable players on tour. Stories circulated about his fiery temper during practice, smashing rackets when points didn't go his way, then laughing minutes later. He often admitted he couldn't maintain focus across entire seasons. Brown's career felt like street performance spectacle over consistency. And when flamboyance fades, another figure steps forward, colder and sharper, cultivating enemies everywhere he goes. Marcelo Rios. Marcelo Rios is the only World No. 1-inch history never to win a Grand Slam. That stat alone makes him an outlier, but his personality made him infamous. Nicknamed El Chino, the Chilean rose to No. 1-inch March 1998, holding the spot for 6 weeks, yet he built a reputation as one of tennis's most disliked champions. On court, he barely showed emotion, sometimes walking through matches with icy disdain. But off the court, the controversies piled up. He once told a reporter he hated tennis and only played for money. In 2003, he was arrested in Rome after allegedly assaulting police during a street altercation. In Chile, he was sued multiple times over unpaid debts and aggressive behavior. Even his peers distrusted him. Stories spread of him refusing to practice with other pros, shutting himself off completely. Journalists described him as rude and confrontational, rarely giving straight answers in press conferences. His short stature, just 5'9", and compact game earned him respect, but his attitude left him isolated. In Chile, he remains both a cult hero and a divisive figure, loved for his talent, criticized for his arrogance. And if Rios made coldness his brand, the next prodigy exploded in the opposite way, fiery, reckless, and eventually consumed by scandal. Boris Becker. Boris Becker's rise is legendary and bizarre at once. At just 17 years and 227 days old, he stormed Wimbledon 1985 and became the youngest men's singles champion in history. His diving volleys and fearless power earned him the nickname Boom Boom Becker. By 1991, he held 6 Grand Slam titles and 49 career titles overall. But success never steadies him, chaos follows everywhere. Becker's personal life turns into tabloid fuel. In 2001, he admits to fathering a child in a brief encounter at a London restaurant's broom closet, leading to a messy paternity battle. His finances unravel. Too lavish spending, failed business ventures, and high-profile divorces drain millions. By 2017, he's declared bankrupt despite career earnings exceeding $25 million. Then comes the worst blow. In 2022, he's sentenced to 2.5 years in a UK prison for hiding assets during bankruptcy proceedings. He also courts controversy with coaching roles, outspoken commentary, and public feuds with rivals. Even in retirement, Becker seems magnetized to scandal. His life veers between prodigy, champion, playboy, and convict, a cycle of triumph and self-destruction few athletes survive. And when Becker's chaos fades, the spotlight turns to a colder figure who built an empire on precision, beauty, and a scandal that shook tennis. Maria Sharapova. Maria Sharapova burst onto the global stage in 2004 when, at just 17, she defeated Serena Williams to win Wimbledon. Tall, striking, and fiercely competitive, she markets herself as tennis's ice queen. But her career is a study in contradictions: 5 Grand Slam titles and $38 million in prize money, paired with endless debates over her personality, image, and controversies. Sharapova is famous for her piercing on-court shrieks, measured at over 100 decibels louder than a motorcycle. Opponents complain, but she never changes. She cultivates her cold aura deliberately, rarely showing emotion in interviews. Off the court, she launches Sugarpova, a candy company reportedly valued at $500 million, building herself into a global brand. Then, in 2016, the scandal hit. Sharapova tests positive for meldonium, a recently banned substance she claims she'd been taking legally for years for health reasons. The ITF suspended her for 15 months. Sponsors like Nike and Porsche temporarily cut ties, though many return after her comeback. Still, the ban leaves a permanent scar on her reputation. Rumors of frosty rivalries follow her career, especially with Serena, with whom she lost 19 of 21 matches. Fans debate, was she a genius marketer or a manufactured star? And with her story, the curtain falls on this gallery of tennis's strangest legends, each one proof that greatness and weirdness often come hand in hand. Ilie Nastase. Ilie Nastase wasn't just tennis's first world, no 1-inch 1973, he was also its original troublemaker. Fans called him Nasty, not only for his surname but because he treated the court like a stage for mockery. He'd catch balls in his pocket during rallies, fake cramps, or suddenly collapse as if shot. He once delayed play by arguing with a fan in the front row while laughing at his own jokes. In 1975, he introduced the spaghetti racket, strung with double layers that generated spins so wild it looked like witchcraft. The ITF banned it within weeks, fearing it would ruin the sport. But antics weren't always harmless. Nastase had frequent clashes with umpires, once threatening to quit mid-match at the French Open unless a linesman was removed. In later years, his legacy darkened. In 2017, as Romania's Fed Cup captain, he made crude remarks about Serena Williams' unborn child and verbally abused British players and officials, earning suspensions from the ITF. Off-court, he lived like a playboy. 5 marriages, rumored affairs with models, and reckless spending made him as famous in tabloids as in sport. Genius mixed with scandal, that's the Nastase story. John McEnroe. John McEnroe turned tennis into theater by accident. His game was genius: 7 Grand Slam singles titles, 9 in doubles, and 77 doubles titles overall, most with partner Peter Fleming. In 1984, he produced the single greatest season in Open-era history: 82 wins, just 3 losses. But none of that is why he's remembered. He's remembered for rage. At Wimbledon 1981, he exploded with the immortal "You cannot be serious" after a disputed line call, a phrase that defines him more than his trophies. He clashed with umpires constantly, swore at officials, and intimidated opponents. In 1990, the Australian Open disqualified him mid-match after 3 code violations, the first time a superstar was tossed from a slam under new rules. Off-court, his weirdness continued. He married actress Tatum O'Neal in 1986 tabloids, feasted on their messy breakup and custody battle. He later married rocker Patti Smythe, cementing his image as a celebrity crossover. McEnroe also dabbled in rock music, once touring with a band despite critics calling him tone-deaf. Even in retirement, his commentary is brutal, often insulting players. McEnroe's temper both built and broke him, leaving behind a legacy where chaos mattered as much as trophies. Thanks for watching. Legends, your time here means everything. If you enjoyed this ride, hit subscribe and like to stay in the loop. More untold stories are waiting for you, each one stranger and richer than the last.